Yeah, what's going on, everybody? So today I'm going to show you how to use AE2Blend and Blender to add CGI elements to your live footage. It's not that difficult. It's really simple. So come on, let's jump into it. First, we need to import our footage into After Effects, and then you just drag it down and create a new composition. And what we need to do now is right click, and then we want to track camera. I'm going to go up here into my advanced settings, and I want detailed analysis as well as render track points, detailed analysis, and increase my track point size. And then we just have to give it a moment, and boom. Now we have our scene track. I want to grab a circle and create this little target, right click and create ground plane and origin. Then I'm going to right click it again and set camera in solid. Now what this does, it places that solid at that track location as well as set the ground plane for our 3D. As we can see, we have a pretty good track. It's not slipping, it's not sliding, it's staying in place. So yeah. Now, one of the things we can do just to double check and orient our solid better is to add a grid effect to it. We'll just drag that and drop it onto our track solid. And now we can make this larger, and we want to rotate it to just pretty much fit our scene. Like I like to try to line the sides of the grid up with, a line like how the sidewalk is. I'm trying to eyeball it just enough. We need to get it perfect, but we need it well enough so we can have a good starting point once we get over into Blender. And rotate it just a little bit, play with it just a tad, little small adjustments, nothing really major, just subtle to get it right where I want it. And as we can see, yeah, that track is good. So I'm going to go up here, turn the grid off just so we can get a better visualization of our solid. And our track is looking pretty good. Very good, to be honest. It's not slipping, it's not moving, it's not skipping. It's really locked in. So now we're going to go over into Blender. We're going to delete everything from our scene, and then we're going to come into our camera, into our transforms, 3D tracker, or you can hit U and pull up all of the keyframes and then copy and paste. Well, you're going to copy the position and orientation and then come over into Blender under your AE2Blend and create a camera. And as you can see, you hit 0, you go into your camera, we've got the movement. Everything's not ready yet. We need to bring our solid over and our plane origin. So we need to select the first 4, copy those, and then come into Blender and create a plane. And as you can see, now we have our scene, our camera movement, and our plane, but it doesn't look right. It's not lined up properly. So we need to fix the focal length. So come over here, click on your 3D camera tracker, copy the focal length, and then back in Blender, paste it into your camera settings, and boom. I love that part. Now we're on track. We tracking. So now we need to bring in our footage. So we want to go to background image movie clip open, scroll to where where you saved your footage and open it. And as you can see, everything is where it should be. The tracking point is where it's at. The camera in 3D is matching the camera from the original footage. All right, we need to scale up our plane just a bit. And before we do that, if you notice the X and Y axis, they're like in weird places. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this cube, I'm gonna place it above the plane, and then I wanna highlight, I wanna control click on all 3 of these: plane transform, camera transform, and then the cube. But wait, first, let me show you something. When we brought our animation in from After Effects, it was off by 1 frame. So you have to hit A, highlight all your keyframes, hit G, X, and 1 to line it up. Now back to getting this orientation correct. Plane transform, control click camera, control click cube, and then control P and select object to group them all together. Now with this selected, grab your cube, hit R to rotate, and as you can see, your X and Y's, your green and that red line are lining up with your scene. You want them, so when you want to move something forward, you want it to move forward in your scene. When you move something left to right, you want it to move left to right in your scene. So this is how you match the orientation so that when you slide stuff in your scene, it's like easy to get it where you want it. So now you can turn that cube off and we're going to work with the plane. We want to scale this up some to make sure that it's matching the ground so we can capture any reflections, any shadows, or any interactions of physics if you add them. In this one, I'm just adding the vehicle, so it's not that serious. I really just want to make this fit underneath the vehicle to work as a shadow catcher. So now we're going to bring in a car. I got this from the traffic plugin. They have a free pack. If you want to go to the marketplace, I'll leave the link in the description. And it came in small, so we got to hit S and scale it up. S and scale it up. There we go. Now, I'm going to use the other vehicle in the shot to kind of like eyeball it. I didn't measure it or any of that. I've just driven one before, so I kind of like remember like how large it was compared to one of my other vehicles. And as you can see, the car and the plane are tracking perfect. The camera in 3D matches with the real camera from the footage. How cool is that? Rotate it, R, Z, and then type in 180 to get it to spin around. Because I'd rather have the front view. The back view is cool, but the front is what's popping. I'm going to slide it back just a little bit so it sits right on that plane because that plane is going to act as the shadow catcher. So I want that plane to fit directly, like right along where the wheels are and right up tight to where the that's the fender right in the front, bumper, fender, whatever. Oh, that track looks nice. So as you can see on the side, it's still poking out a bit. See, what happens is when you create the shadow, wherever that plane is at, it's going to kind of leave like a hard edge, and I don't want that. So I want to kind of like make it a tight fit, pretty much like the fit almost perfectly under the car with very little spill coming out past the tires. You know, you'll see what I'm talking about in a bit. All right. We need to change our view to cycles and GPU, turn our denoises on, and turn them to optics. As well as I want to come down into film and we're going to turn on transparent and transparent glass so that you're able to see through the glass, and transparent will make the background and everything transparent. Performance, we're going to go down, turn on persistent data, and turn off tiling, which will help with our render speeds. We're going to turn our max samples in our viewport to 32, and down for our render, let's do 128. Yeah, 128. And to increase our render speeds, I'm thinking we bring our noise threshold up to about 0.5. Perfect. Now, you'll notice our reflections and stuff aren't there. So if we go in a render view, you'll see our car just looks dark. It doesn't match the environment. So we need to bring in our HDRI, but first, let me play with the color. I don't want this green. You can pick any color that you choose. You just click on the body and you go into the Polyneek tab, and right here, you can play with the color wheel. That's why another reason why I like Traffic is because it has a lot of options for customization. You can do license plates, you can do dirt, scratches, dents, clear coat. Like I'm increasing now. I'm gonna put some dirt on there. I don't want no scratches or bumps. You can even create roads with Traffic, so it's like really great if you're into doing car animations. So okay, now like I was saying, we don't have no reflections, right? So in order to get the reflections on the vehicle, we need a HDRI. But before we do that, let me see something. Let me let's scale. That should be right. That should be cool. All right, so now let's bring that HDRI in. We have to go to color, environment, and then we want to bring in our HDRI. I capture my HDRIs with the Insta360. You can get them however you want. Just open it and then bring it in. You can get HDRIs from sites like Polyhaven for free. There are also apps that you can use and make them with your phone. So do some research. One thing you need to learn about this game is you're going to have to do research. So as you can see, the reflections, they're on the car now. But we want our HDRI to match our scene. So we need to go in the render view, but for whatever reason, it's not here. So we need to go over into our shader editor and go to world and click on your first node, then Control T for node wrangler. If you don't have it, you just turn it on in your preferences. And then we want to rotate our HDRI around so that it matches our scene, but we can't see it because we turned on transparent. So we need to go back down into transparent, into our film area and turn off transparent. And boom, we have our HDRI. So we're going to go into our node wrangler, into that blue colored node, and at the rotation for Z, we're going to rotate it until it matches up to our original scene. And then our reflections, our lights, and everything should be lined up perfectly with our actual footage. When I'm shooting, I always have a spot that I start my shot from, and I make sure that I take my HDRI from that exact same location as well. And this gives me a way better, it makes it easier to line it up. You see that? When I turn the transparency on, it's right back where we were, it matches. So we know that the reflections and the lighting is accurate. Also, the next thing we want to do is select our plane, come into the properties, and go down to visibility and make it a shadow catcher. And now you no longer see it, you'll only see the shadow that it generates. But remember when I was telling you about it's going to create those hard edges? You see how that's poking out from the front right there? It's going to look like two triangles of darkness just sitting there. And I don't want that. I really don't like the way that looks. So we're going to take this plane and we're just going to scale it up and pretty much have it be a shadow catcher for a large portion of the street. It's transparent anyway, you won't really see it. But if it doesn't line up with the ground, there's like a really like slight shade difference. You can tell the darker area opposed to what was originally there. And I don't want to make that, I don't want that ugly distinction. So we're just gonna scale this up X, line it up with that edge of the street, and then we hit G, Y, we're gonna slide it back some. There we go. One thing I don't like is how on the side where the white car is, remember I was telling you it's going to make it a little bit darker. So I don't want it riding into that white car that much. So we're going to scale that down some in a second. First, let me bring this up and take it just a further back so we don't see that darkness. Wait, G and then Y, and slide it back. You see how the shadow is leaving when I pull it away? Okay, now I don't want that darkness going over onto that white car. So I'm going to have to scale this down just a tad, S and then X. And scale it down a bit and then slide it over G and then X. And the white line is like right there at the bottom of the car, but yeah, there we go. I want it to be like right at where that shadow is and at the bottom of the rim and the top of the tire where it's already dark. So it's like it fits, you know what I mean? It's not like really noticeable. So then next thing, line it up along the curb. That should do it. I think that'll cut it. I really think that'll cut it. Let's check. Yep, it's sticking and it's like looks lined up really well down at the end of the street. If you really wanted to go in further, we could go into modeling mode and move some vertices around, but this will work for what we're doing. Yep. And I like how where it sits on the white car at the bottom of the tire. So let's go into the white car. I want to just rotate it a little bit so you get to see some of like the features on the side when we come around. Let me come out of here. Just click your middle mouse button, move it, and you'll come out of camera mode. And I want to move. First, we need to make the car editable. And now I want to go into pose mode, click these little arrows, and then G and X, and just turn it so we can turn the wheel. I just want to rotate those tires. Go back into object mode and hit 0 on your number pad to go back into your camera, and boom. Slide it over just a bit. Like it's sitting in the middle of the street, like we just showing off. Just pulled out the driveway, about to pull off. Oh man, that track is lovely. We got the reflections, we got the color, we got the gloss, we got the shadow catcher. Yeah, that's looking nice. That's looking really nice. The HDRI is laying perfectly. These can be so fun. And mind you can do these with anything. Next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna do an interior environment or something, so we can just take it a step further. Wait, I don't like the way those front tire, like that front tire on the other side. I feel like it's like turned a little bit too much, like unnatural, right? So let me like too much. Let's just bring that back in. Remember, left click, G and X, and there we go. I think that's better. Go back into our object mode, 0 for the camera, and then we need to go back into object mode. Don't forget to go back in object mode. I forgot. So here we're going to check our resolution. I like to go down to wireframe mode before I render, just to make sure that it's easier to render. You're going to check your resolution, set it to what you shot, then come down here, find the location of where you want to store your footage at, and then just hit Control F12 to allow the rendering process to begin. And then when it's done, your render should come out looking like this. It looks black, but it's actually transparent, and all you have now is your vehicle and your camera movement that matches your original footage perfectly. So next thing we want to do is we're going to open up DaVinci Resolve or whatever, NLE that you guys use. And all you are going to do is bring in our first shot, and we're going to lay the second shot over top of it. And as you can see, we get a perfect track. It's perfect. Now, if you decide you want to go in and do some coloring to make it match the scene a bit better, this isn't a DaVinci Resolve tutorial, but I'll show you a few of the things that I'm doing. I'm lowering the gamma. I'm lowering the gain some. I'm playing with them. I'll shoot up, I'll shoot down, just to try to eyeball and try to composite it into the scene to make it look better. Bring the black levels down. That may be a bit too much. Those windows look black. Tires are completely too shot out, but I want to kind of like compare the shadows underneath that car and the ones from the footage, because our shot looks just too clean. It's just too clean. So we just want to play around, play with these knobs, be like a kid with a new toy. Just move things around, see what they do. The best way to composite, obviously, is in Nuke. That'll be for a later tutorial. But just to give you guys the basics of AE2Blend, I'm coming over here. I'm going to add a little bit of blur to the card because, like I say, it's too crisp, just a little bit too crisp. So I want to soften it up a bit. And that's really it, man. You just play with these knobs until you get a look that you want, and you render it out, and you're ready to go. Post it on social media and watch your comment section go crazy. Thanks for watching.